new studio. Um, why futures, commodities? Why is this the vehicle to help people? Um, and you can tell us what it may help them do as well. Why don't you just open that up for
Yeah.
anybody who might not know?
I mean, honestly, dude, it's the direct access to the markets that allows you to generate liquidity on the spot. Like with futures and commodities specifically, if you know what you're doing, it's asymmetric risk, right? So low barrier to entry and high reward.
So, what's the barrier to entry?
Barrier to entry normally, if you just look up really popular brokerages online to trade, say, futures or other asset classes, a really popular one called Interactive Brokerage would come up. And if you wanted to trade, say, like one contract of the Dow US 30, which is the YM, right, that's like $12,000 to get in. Respectively, for gold and oil on IB as well is $17,000 and $24,000. But when you have industry knowledge and you know the proper broker to go to basically maximize your leverage, the ones that we recommend you, right, you can get in in the same markets, right, but as opposed to say 12, 17, and 24, you're looking at 500 and $1,000, and that's the regular markets, right? When the micro markets, you can get in at 50 and $100 respectively, right? Because it's a game of ratios at the end of the day.
So, if somebody is new and they've never traded a stock or invested in their life, why is this something that maybe they should do, or how do they know this might be right for
Yeah,
them?
yeah. So the number one thing about this is fundamentally speaking, this is a high income skill set, right? Now, most people tend to shy away from the asset class because of the inherent risk and volatility, right? But if you know what you're doing, bona fide billionaires have actually come out of this space. Like if you did your due diligence and studied Forbes, right? The two biggest billionaires in our space that we follow is John Arnold, who took 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years trading the commodity natural gas the right way, right? And then there's also Mr. James Simmons, who in about 15, 16 years amassed $30 billion worth of wealth, right? And this is in his late 60s is when he started. So essentially, if you know what you're doing, you have a system to leverage. This is a high income skill set that you can essentially execute anywhere in the world, right? As long as you have internet, electricity, a computer, and you're able to time the markets right, right? So that's the biggest benefit, I would say, right? And compared to stocks, for example, because of the additional volatility, you can actually make money when the markets go down, right? So we can make money in all kinds of directions, up, down, or sideways. But what's really exciting is that when the markets do go down, they tend to go down 67% faster than when it goes up. So, for example, back in '08, when the markets collapsed, and a lot of people would freak out, like they should. Like Ryan, if you had $1 million out to the stock market and the valuations of those shares were to drop, right, your money would collapse, and that's no fun for anyone. But in futures, if you know that the markets are coming down and you hit the short button, you can actually be in profit, right? Which is a huge game changer. So it allows you to become impervious to economic cycles and market collapses. Again, the big thing is like as long as you know what you're doing, right? And in terms of the training, people that naturally trade futures and commodities because it's higher risk, higher volatile, right? Sharper speeds. When you learn how to trade futures and commodities in a technical way, right, through technical analysis, because that's the main way that you do it, it translates over to trading other asset classes like crypto, like stocks, like stock options, because they move slower naturally, right? So it's like when you get trained in the futures and commodities, you're able to see things like the matrix. So you can go back to the other asset classes and it gives you that additional boost, right? In awareness, pattern recognition, and just overall skill set. But the same cannot be said vice versa, right? Because if you learn how to trade the others first, they are naturally slower with their pace, So obviously, if you go from slow to fast, right, it takes some more mental power and learning curve.
Mm.
But if you go through a more rigorous learning curve, right, and you do the hard things, then life becomes easier, right, and hence this case.
So, how do you look at short term versus medium versus long term
Mm-hmm.
investing? Do you is this something that is you want to have your other medium and long term investments going maybe first before you do this, or it doesn't matter? Or how
Yeah.
do you look at that if somebody's just
That's a
asking for
great
advice?
question. It's just about like portfolio management, right? Like proper portfolio management and what is what are you trying to accomplish? And like what is your life circumstances. So in that sense there's two dials, right? Like there's the dial of someone's risk appetite and there's the dial of like how actively involved can they or and do they want to be involved, right? When you talk about trading futures and commodities, right, we're not your typical day traders. This is high frequency trading. It yields the most amount of returns, right, because it's short term, so we only talk returns on a daily, weekly, and the longest is really monthly. But it's really daily and weekly that we talk about, right, in that time frame. So for someone that's open and understands the importance of self education, they want to learn a high income skill set that they can have for the rest of their life, understanding that the more you commit to learning it, the better you get at it, the more profits you can garner. That's very appetizing to someone, right? Because you're in control of your own destiny. Depending on your situation, if you're a busy mom with kids, you're busy professionals, you do not have the luxury and time to be, even if it's half an hour to an hour and a half, to be actively trading in front of the screen. Okay, that's fine. There's additional ways to grow your capital, right? Now, it's not going to yield you as high of a return as you could get in directional trading, futures market, right? But it's another way and it's another tool within the toolbox of investing in the global financial markets. Again, just depending on how aggressive you want to get and how much time you either want to or is willing to put into this.
So, in terms of, before we get to who maybe this might be good for, what does that time commitment look like? Whether it is learning the skill, that could be in the macro of like months or years, or even the day to day time. How do you frame that to somebody who doesn't do this? How do you what's your advice for, hey, this is how much time you might have to put into something like this?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no way around it, right? Like you are for futures and commodities, which is our main bread and butter, you gotta put in a minimum of like a couple hours a week, right? It doesn't have to be crazy, but 3 to 5 hours would be ideal. And the more you are willing to commit to something, the higher success rate you probably have, right? So 3 to 5 to start, right? To start just to learn it. Midterm and long term, right? It's more so about understand having the right information. So you still gotta learn, but then once you learn it, you can place the trade and exit the trade in different days or time frames. Like that's the main difference, right? So short term trading, you gotta be in and out within the time that you spend in front of the computer. Like when you walk away from the screen, it would be advised that you don't leave any trades on. That's short term, right? Midterm to long term, you can basically like place your trade and go back to doing whatever. You're a marketer, right? Content creation, right? You already placed your trade, right? So you're good there. But again, the initial learning curve, 3 to 5 hours a week for futures. For the midterm, long term stuff, you could spread it out a bit more, maybe an hour to 2 hours, right? You can still progress
And who do
at
you
a slower
recommend?
pace.
Who do you recommend do this? Is this somebody who already has a career and has this, already has an income and maybe a business or a good job and wants to learn a new skill, or is this somebody that
Right.
doesn't know how to make money for themselves yet and they're doing that? Is there a certain type of
Yeah.
situation that typically your clients are in before they begin to their trading journey?
So there's different people from different walks of life, right? But what I'm going to speak to is the people that come in with certain situations that set them up for success. Okay, and so when it comes to anything investing is really growing and I would say, stacking your existing capital to higher heights. So it helps a lot if you have an existing source of income, right? And you're not just trying to use trading to pay for the bills. You can, but it's going to be a lot more burdensome emotionally and psychologically speaking, right? So I recommend people to come in with, a stable source of income. I'm talking about highest odds of success, right? They're looking to learn. They're down to learn another skill set, knowing that it's going to take some time at the beginning. But once they learn it, they can have it for the rest of their life, and they can do really big things. Additionally, because like trading itself is very technical, but then there's also the business side of trading, right? Like people don't understand that like you can trade for banks and you can trade for institutions. You can essentially do very lucrative things with hedge funds, and so like the more there's levels to this game, right? And we're basically just scratching the surface, showing you I would say the entrance to this amazing realm first and foremost. But yeah, the people that are going to be geared to be super successful is professionals, um, professionals who want more, professionals who are doing this because they want to have a better future. They want to create another stream of income, right? And they're always curious. They're always learning. They're savvy investors, right? That wants to take care of their family. That wants to create wealth because they have a certain purpose that they want to go after, right? Like for me, it's basketball related. Like that's why I mainly got into entrepreneurship and business, right? So yeah, I mean it's very what I would say freeing because like I said, this game from a business standpoint is not your typical brick and mortar, right? You don't have high overhead, right? You don't have to get certifications or licenses. I'm not saying that that doesn't make you good. Okay, like I'm just saying it's a lower barrier to entry.
Yeah.
You do not need to have your Series 6 or 7 to do this game. Like that traditional financial advisors have to do that because those certifications essentially educate them on the red tapes and restrictions that they need to know about in the industry because there's a lot of red tape when it comes to securities, which is stocks trading, right? Basically. But when it comes to futures and commodities, you just gotta know how to diagnose these charts the right way. Like similar to medicine, where you diagnose MRI scans, CT scans, and X-rays. The difference here is when you can diagnose these charts, you can actually print money, right? And how you diagnose these charts is there's a confluence of factors that you watch for, 5 to 7 of them. Not all 5 or 7 are created equal, right? We kind of place more priority on one. But this is a game of pattern recognition, logic, and science, right? With knowing that, right, like with your own personality, your own behavior in terms of risk appetite, how aggressive you tend to get, how well you come back from losing trades. It's okay to have losing trades, but not losing days, right? Like if you place 10 trades and you lose out on 3, but you win on 7, you're still net, right? 70%. That's like think about an NBA player shooting 70%, right? Still great. So that's the idea, Ryan. Is people looking to either learn a skill set, they are wanting to commit to a skill set that they have full control of their destiny. They have time and location freedom. The financial freedom will come as they commit to it, right? But the two things that they will have is time and location freedom doing this game.
And what about people who, say that maybe I'm not a numbers person, I'm not meant for this, maybe my personality isn't going to work. Is there a type of person, or is it really more so the mindset that you have to have? And if you have that mindset to learn, then you can be successful.
No, I mean you're right. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not a good fit. Not everyone would be a good fit for this, right? But like, what makes you a good fit is, let's just talk success principles for a second. It is 80% mindset because it does not matter what skill you learn, right? It doesn't have to be investing. I mean, podcasting has its own unique skill set in arts, creativity, and technology at the same time, right? But are you willing to have an learning attitude, an open attitude, a inner humility, right? To embrace, hey, like, and you pair that up with ambition and drive, you know what I mean? Then yeah, mindset first for sure. But the people that really will excel at this is people that want to do this because there's a bigger goal than just making money. You know, like with anything else,
Yeah.
it's just this vehicle. It just happens to be a pretty convenient vehicle. You do not have to talk to clients. You do not have to chase after people. We are in the people business. Like, don't get me wrong, but this is one of the few games where you really don't have to interact with people to make your money. And the best part is, this is not an end-all be-all. This could be either a supplemental income, a full-time income, or a full-blown career, right? Depending on how you want to maximize.
Yeah, so you get to customize it. It's up to you. You don't this. There's no boss with this. You're your own boss,
Yeah,
but you also
that's
don't
right.
need any employees. You don't have many expenses behind your internet connection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that there's like why don't you think people do this? Is it just they just don't know that it's possible?
Yeah, it is more of an obscure style of investing. And I mean, let's just be real. Colleges are not meant. Colleges are meant to produce employees, right? Like, colleges don't talk about this for a reason. Your typical career fairs don't talk about this. We are in the hedge fund space, right? So you got hedge funds, private equity, real estate syndication, and venture capital. And these four are like our neighbors, right? We're all very different, but we're in the same, I would say, realm, right?
Yeah.
But different universes within that same realm, right? So to speak. So even that, like, I had to learn because I was out in the real world doing real business, shaking hands with real business owners. Like, and that's how I learned about it. And that's why, unlike fellow hedge fund managers who are normally speaking super obsessed about growing their fund and AUM numbers, which is great on their part, right? We're more so passionate about the education space because we believe in democratizing access to this style of knowledge, this style of investing through the proper knowledge, right? Because people need to know about this. When I was growing up, and what made me become an aspiring surgeon and not take over my dad's accounting firm, even though I was groomed to do that in Hong Kong, I said thanks, no thanks. Just one, I didn't want to wake up in the city. I'm a city boy that loves the suburbs, right? Go Kansas. And two, I do not like doing people's taxes. So when he was like, okay, kiddo, what do you want to do? I said, I have no clue. Let me explore the medical field. And at the time, being a surgeon really resonated with me, right? The whole, me being an athlete my whole life, hands-on aspect, intellectually challenging aspect, lucrative career. But ultimately, like, conventional wisdom is doctor, lawyer, and engineer, right? And that's how you get your life and career set, which in 2025, we all know that that is not the case, right? So that's why we do this. Like, again, unless you and I had a conversation, you probably wouldn't know who John Arnold or James Simmons is, right? The average person just would not.
Yeah, and there's so I mean, is it like are people trying to keep it a secret? You think? You think there's a lot of people who do these type of trading and make a lot of money and don't want people to know
I
about
think
it?
I think wealth is a game of not just who you know, but who knows you. Because, like, it's great to, if I was the NBA owner of the Heat, right? I'm like, wow, I'm an NBA owner. But to you, if I'm a friend, I'm just your friend, dude. Like, hey, friend down the street, can I get a free sandwich, bro? From the Jimmy John's that you're working right now? Like, it's nice to have friends in business. So, but the point is, like, a lot of things that actually happen in the real world, they're not going to get discussed because it's very much like
Uh,
within your social circle, right? Like billionaires and wealthy people party. You just probably don't know about when the party's going down, right? Because you weren't invited. Why weren't you invited? Because you weren't in that social circle. If you were in that social circle somehow, some way, you would find out about that information, right? It's not, something that you just get access to by watching the news. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, no one finds out when the Kardashians are having a party, right? Unless you're in their inner circle. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's intentional. I just think that that is the key to a lot of, I would say, like, golden gems and wisdom that traditional education simply do not offer.
Yeah, so would you say that this is an alternative to any other form of education, an MBA or a degree, or because You're spending way more to get those things than you would to even start learning how to trade.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing that we strive to offer, right, is number one, we're doers who happens to educate. So we actually spoken at Northwestern University, and what we found is when you talk about traditional MBAs, it's a lot of it's theory, right? A lot of it's theory, and the professor teaching you will never go live with you because they don't have the skill set. They teach you, but they don't do it. Again, see what's different is we're doers who happens to educate. Like we do it daily, and we do it first before we teach, and we happen to teach because we've been doing it so well, and people started asking us, "Hey, can we teach them?" Right? So there's a specific order, and I would say like real experts and your social media experts. Now, if your social media experts have, 15, 20 years of experience, it makes them that much more robust. And it's kind of like hard to, poke holes in them, right? So there's differences here. But the main thing is, in my opinion, right, in our firm's opinion, is to have a massive bank account. That is what we consider a real world MBA, right? Not your traditional MBA where, it's just theory and not really applicable. We take pride in the fact that we show it live. We approach the markets, we navigate it live in front of our audience for 30 minutes, and we make the money in front of you. And our whole thing is, if you do not see us make a minimum of 50K, please feel free to never talk to us again, right? Because that's what we do. We do it daily, we do it weekly, and we do it on a consistent basis. And if you see us clear someone's annual salary and it does not pique any curiosity, then by all means, it's probably not for you, and you're not a good fit.
Have you, or was there any surprising people that you work with? Maybe people in different sectors or different people with different jobs.
People who are typically blue collared is going to have a harder time with this.
Yeah.
This is really, I would say, like in terms of aptitude, everyone has different personalities and skills and genetic predispositions.
Well,
So
I'm
like
saying who's
white collar
surprised-
professionals,
Yeah.
white collar professionals definitely,
And
makes-
what are some of the professions that they were in? Or
yeah,
they are in?
any professionals ranging from medical to IT to engineer, your CPAs, your real estate investors, right? People who have gone through like some kind of rigor in training, I would say, because they've learned to be disciplined. Like risk management is a big thing. My business partner, who's our hedge fund manager, his middle name, as he likes to say, is low drawdown. It's like the prudence, right, in risk management is so important in anything investing. So I would say people with, normally speaking, right, additional rigor in the training and discipline, right, from the background that they come from. And of course, like, your business owners looking to add another stream of income. Maybe they understand the concept. They don't want to do it themselves, but they want their team to learn it, right? We can offer them a way to create another revenue stream inside the company, right? Again, without having to chase clients. So it can be a hedge within the company.
What is a success story that you've had, whether you can actually name the names or not?
Oh man, we have 4 recent ones. So I love we have a Dr. Sampson. He's making about $1,000 a day. We have a Dr. Joe and his daughter. The daughter's making about 1,500 a day. Dr. Joe's freaking killing it. I mean, the first day he went live, he made 2,800 with us, and then after a month, his account is up over 40K. Last time we spoke to him, it's now well over 60K, and he's just like on another level. But it's hard to get a hold of the guy because he's in clinics a lot, and he trades and he's in clinics. But we are interviewing the daughter tomorrow, and then we're interviewing several more after that in the new studio, of course. So that's exciting.
Of course.
Oh, and we just had someone make 1,500 today. Today is Tuesday, August the 5th. And someone made 1,400 trading stock options with us. Yep, like right under 1,500.
And how long were they trading that today?
I think they were following alongside our ideas. So like I said, we showcase our skill set for 30 minutes.
Yeah, so
Right.
basically in 30 minutes you could be up $1,500. You
Yeah.
can have basically almost your rent paid for.
And I mean, I don't even know what he made afterwards. If he traded
Yeah.
afterwards, I just know that he made 1,400 like in that time frame.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Does it happen every day? Right? Because of the markets, but can it happen every day? Absolutely.
So why don't we talk about the win rates? Like, why are you guys different? Because like you guys have incredible win rates
Yeah.
that you show every single day. How does that work?
Well, I think first and foremost is the methodology. So we were blessed to have been disciples of John Arnold. John Arnold, as I mentioned, is in our space, self-made billionaire at age 33 back in '07. Took 1.5 million to 1.5 billion in 2.5 years, trading the commodity natural gas the right way. And before he became a billionaire, he hosted very limited trading workshops and seminars in Dallas, Texas, which my business partner actually had the opportunity to attend. So about 70% of our methodology is inspired by Arnold. The other 30 is us being medical professionals. So we've added our own prudence, professionalism, and ethics, right? And our own style at Lightspeed Investing to make it even more robust. So I would say that there's several factors to it. One, you're learning from, like I said, doers who happens to educate, like a bona fide hedge fund manager who's done deals with banks and institutions, right? Like if you understand the cadence of trading, you first start by trading for yourself, but then you can trade for others, right? That's the money management hedge fund division. And when we do that, right, we're managing money for high net worth individuals, usually speaking a million and up. But what happens is when you have a track record and experience to back that up, you can do deals with banks and institutions, right? So our information is rooted in the real world, is rooted in the doing, right? So you can and reprove, and then the second part is reprove it, because again on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, just for half an hour, right when the New York bell rings, the market outcry happens. We go live, we prove what we teach, and we make the money in front of you. Now, maybe the first time you sit in and you stop by, you're like, I don't know how this is possible, and I don't know if this is real. So that's okay. That's why, if you want, come a second time and be a guest of ours. And maybe the second time you think it's just coincidence. That's fine too. Come again a third time. But by the fourth time, the fifth time, and additional times afterwards, I think we can all agree that if you keep seeing us perform at about 90% accuracies day in and day out, there's got to be a conversation of substance and depth to be warranted, right? And so, I mean, that's how we were able to get the bank deal. It's like they came for at least 3 weeks. They saw us perform, and they were like, all right, let's sit down and actually talk.
Yeah. So is there any other case studies or success stories that you think would be useful to know about?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've helped retire medical professionals from their careers if they want to, right? So, for example, I have Dr. Samantha. She's a lady physician who, in February of this month, right, had to leave her clinical duties. And when she was learning how to trade, she was only able to trade Fridays because she's working in the clinics Monday through Thursdays. And so when that happened, right, she really didn't lose much confidence or enthusiasm, as you normally might, right? As a doctor who's also a mom and a wife who has to take care of the kids, without her share of the income, because she knew she could trade. So then she started to ramp up her trading. So her schedule became trading Monday through Friday in the mornings and taking care of the kids in the afternoons, right? And right now they're in a transition because they're about to open up a private practice in another state. So they're dealing with that right now. But I mean, that's what this game can do for someone, right? Like I said, depending on how they want to leverage it.
What about in terms of some kind of trading philosophy, or kind of how you guys approach it, maybe different than other people? You'll see a lot online, a lot of guarantees, a lot of a lot of nice cars, a lot of big homes. Hey, you can be like me. It seems like you guys take a very practical approach to it. So
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
your kind of, philosophy around that,
Well,
different than
like
the market?
money making and success, in and out of itself is just simple byproducts and outputs of the right inputs. So what we strive to do is we try to show you that we have the right inputs. And we do that, like I said, by going live in front of you, right? Like there's no better way. And if you want to know, okay, so that's one part is who are you learning from? The other part is, well, can you do it? The transference,
Yep.
right? Like that's what I think. Like this, a huge portion of people get hung up on that, right? And that's one of those factors. Like you can do it, great. We trust that you can do it, but can you teach me, and can I be successful, right? So how we get our clients profitable is we put them through 3 simple phases, right? If you look at this like surgery, except this would be financial surgery on the markets, I think we can all agree that there's a fundamental difference between learning surgery and actually doing surgery in a live OR room on a live patient, right? And I like to do surgery because that's the background that I come from for my training, and it's just like a really clear cut analogy, right? So if I look at it, right, like it's surgery, but financial surgery, or the same thing would happen. You want to first learn and absorb like a sponge. You then want to practice on a mannequin patient, right? In this case, a virtual environment to hone your skill set, to get your surroundings, right? To get your footing, to understand how do you place trades, right? How to interact, how things work, before you actually go live and put real money on the line, right? And also focusing on the right inputs, where in this case, you want to be a minimum of 80% accurate when you trade virtually. Because when you go live, you're going to have emotions and psychology involved. Like putting real money on the line is, you're going to get, your heart's really going to start spiking, right? So like the NBA, in an open gym, if you're a true professional, you ought to be shooting between 80 to 90% in an open gym, right? And there's no defense, right? And when you go into a game, that number wanes in about 50%, by 50%, right, in half. Right, so that's where you get, hey, if you still shoot 40% minimum, you're a good shooter, right? And that's because there's defense. It's live, right? There are just variables that will try to derail you when you go live. That's just how things are, right? In a live basketball game, in a live trading session with live markets, with live participants, right? So in this case, you want to safeguard against, right, any probability of losing by making sure that your skill set is, at a foundational level, quite robust to begin with. And if you can get yourself to 80% accuracies, on a consistent basis when you're trading virtually, that will be a great sign. And that's how we make sure that our expertise gets transferred over to you, right? And you're gonna get a lot of dedicated one-on-one attention as well. So it's the additional hand-holding, right, on top of the mentorship.
So this is a question that somebody would have who's not in your ecosystem yet. Is it you teaching them? Like, who's teaching them? Who's
So right. So there's different executives, right, running different aspects of the firm, right? So my business partner, the hedge fund manager, right, is the technician, and he is the lead instructor, but we have additional coaches that we have lined up to take care of you, dedicated support, and trading assistance as well. And I would say also depends on like what is your level of need. So yeah, we certainly have dedicated coaches and instructors from the beginners to the advanced level. It just depends on where you currently are, and then we'll plug you in accordingly.
And also, like, sometimes your clients are also out there showing other people how to do it too.
Yeah, well, when you have a robust program that actually delivers on what it says, we have clients that develop really good, like strong goodwill with us. They see the mission and vision that we're on, and they see the cause, and they want to contribute to it. As a matter of fact, I started as a client, and I ended up as president and CEO. Not everyone obviously can follow in that footstep or create that path, but it just somehow, some way happened, right? Because there was alignment, there was camaraderie, right? And it made sense to, gave this business partnership a test trial. And ultimately speaking, my business partner delivered, I delivered, and 2.5 years later, to be exact, right, we are here.
That's such a short amount of time, I feel like.
I
You've done a
know.
lot
Isn't that crazy? I don't know, man. I still got a lot to do. I'm such a baby,
Of course, in life and business too, man. There's
Yeah. I mean, man, that 2.5 years ago when I remember this, like, I was talking to my best friend from KU. I was like, dude, like my biggest achievement right now is like I'm president and CEO. And it's like that's cool, but it's like, hey, I got in the NBA. It's like, okay, you're an NBA player, but like what are you gonna do now? It's like when Ja got in and his dad, right? He's like, yeah, now the real work begins.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
And I have the Ja too, so represent, shout out if I had him.
Represent. What it do, Memphis?
I do like the Stephs though. I love the Stephs. They're not expensive shoes, but they're a great shoe.
Yeah, I got the Nightmares, dude. I got the Nightmare 2. That's right.
All right, favorite basketball shoe. Go.
Favorite to Kobe's. To be honest, Kobe because of who he is, but in terms of practicality, the Kyrie's lows, the Kyrie what I think it was the fours, especially the fours, the low tops. I can't do the high tops, man. The high tops they kind of eat up my ankles a bit. It makes me more prone to injuries. So the
Well,
only higher tops that I like are the KDs,
for people that
but
don't
no
know,
Kyrie's.
you can give advice on investing, or you can also give advice on basketball
Yeah,
shoes.
prudent investments all around, bro. Come on now.
So that's great, man. So what about? Why don't we talk about that? How you got into this? Because you were on a track very similar to a lot of your prospects and clients that come in today. What was attractive to you about this?
Well, what was attractive to me about this is that I found a way to make my NBA goals and dreams into a reality when I recognized that this was the vehicle to help get it done, right? So, for me, in terms of personal affiliations to the markets and investing, like not much, right? I was going to be a surgeon, and in that time, when you're Jayhawk raised in Kansas, basketball's always had a way of pulling me in. So I always sacrificed basketball growing up, right? I made the team in high school, but I never got much support. And what you basically see on the court at like 90% is self-taught, right? So there's always been a question mark of, okay, how great can I be if I had the right mentors and guidance? But at the same time, I'm like, I gotta grow up. I gotta go to med school. I gotta be a surgeon. Blah blah blah. Right. So when I went to KU, I made a little name for myself, and heading into like my senior year, I gave up basketball for an entire year because I had to study for med school. I had to study my MCATs, and ultimately, that's when I really found out that medicine was not going to be for me. So when I did my master's, it was really meant to be like this pivotal moment where I just reflected. Like it was a facade. Like I'm doing my master's, but I was really trying to figure out my life, man. Like, am I really gonna do this medicine thing, or what else am I gonna do, right? Because I have been sunken cost fallacy, right? Like I already, I was a pre-med triple major for 5.5 years, all geared. Like my resume was 200 plus hours in the OR room, just totally geared towards surgery, And
Well, so
here,
you're saying you're basically got you. That's what I don't think you talk about a lot. How
no.
much in medicine did you practice during that
Yeah,
time?
yeah. So I was all in with medicine during college, and then I knew I had to really reflect. So my master's was the facade, right? So my master's that I chose under KU Med was their biostatistics department, masters of science, right? Masters of applied statistics, analytics, and data science, because that was the one degree that was non-clinical that I could finesse and be like, hey, that's a business degree, right? Like that could write data
So
analytics
that actually might have
and
helped you
statistics.
in this job that you have
Well, it
now.
was online. So yeah, that's true. It was online, right? So what allowed me to do so I basically just hooped all day, dude. I hooped all day and I did my master's work at night, and I worked part-time at Kansas City Orthopedic Institute while building up my resume for med school. But really, I was going through what I call a self-directed MBA. Like that was the summer of 2016, the year I graduated, or the summer heading into my last semester of college. That was when I met Ty Lopez. He was my first online mentor, and through him, I learned the importance of surrounding yourself with mentors. That whole sequence led me down to like basically business mentorship dating. Right, I explored like 20 different dudes, mentors online. I basically binge watched Shark Tank so I could hang out with Mark Cuban indirectly, right? Because he's a fellow NBA team owner. And in my head, I was like, if I have to own a team just to put myself on the roster, maybe that's how I'll just get it done. But in the meantime, let me create wealth and use that wealth to get access to top level NBA skills trainers, so then I can get that proper mentorship and guidance and just see how far I can push myself athletically, right? And see where my greatness can be pushed towards. So basically, yeah, to test the depths of my greatness, to put it that way. So because of that basketball desire, it made me go, okay, well, let me hang around these millionaires and billionaires so I can accelerate my chance of success. And ultimately, that's where, within Grant Cardone's community, I met my current business partner. Like, we met at a high caliber business event held by Grant. He was the last person I spoke to. We spoke to him for about an hour and a half. We ended up walking out of the event together. I met him right before the turn of 2023. Okay. I assessed him for an entire month from the end of November to the end of December. And I've always, I'm always been very big on investing in myself. Like I am a compilation of programs, self-education. So once I like really assessed them, I decided to eradicate 85 to 95% of my plans for 2023 so that I could do his trading program. And I signed up on December 30th. And I officially became a client, and I learned how to take a couple $100 to over a couple $1,000. But more importantly, it was during those intimate client conversations that allowed us to have an intimate conversation about potential business partnership, right? And that's where, like we decided to go on a trial. He delivered, I delivered, and after 3 months, right, that's really when I, bona fidely speaking, became president and CEO. And that was my first big achievement in entrepreneurship.
Was that investment in the program the first trading program you
yeah.
And was that the first and the only one that you
well, okay, let me back up. Not the first trading. Like I did learn some things
so you had
crypto
some
before
interest in it, but you weren't actively trading.
I would say this. I was exposed to the markets and trading a little bit, just like a tiny bit, right, through crypto and through my masters, right. Okay. But it was more so not like investing in stuff, like kind of like coding, the statistics around the, it was like adjacent, but not really, But it was like,
well, what made you join the program?
Because I knew I could leverage my biggest skill set, which is leadership, sales, negotiations.
You had the confidence that you were going to be able to make a return on investment because of the skill you were going to acquire. Through that program.
But ultimately, what it had then evolved to was, by paying for the program, I paid for access. So now I'm just talking to a hedge fund manager, and we get along, and we're good friends, and we have camaraderie. You know what I mean? Like there's like additional layers to the relationship that cemented the strength of it. Like he's an international city boy, just like me. He's from London. I'm from Hong Kong. He came from medicine. He actually worked as an internal medicine physician. I was an aspiring surgeon. Both did not find fulfillment inside medicine, right? He had to forego, in high school, he was a singles tennis champion, right? And he had to forego that because his parents were like, no, you need to go to med school, right? I'm over here, right, making a name for myself at KU, but also sacrificing basketball for medicine, right? So there's just dude, everyone in my inner social circle knows about my MBA goals and dreams and is totally supportive of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what, this Lightspeed investing does is gives you the ability to pursue whatever dreams you have. Investing is not the dream. Investing is the vehicle.
The vehicle. That's right. Oh, we're going to trademark this, by the way. We are going to create autonomous investment vehicles for our clients.
Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, you heard it here first. Well, Tesla is a autonomous vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Autonomous electrical vehicle.
Sure.
So we're going to create autonomous investing vehicles for our clients, so that they are less involved in the investing. And the vehicle is going to become more autonomous.
Well, that's actually a good topic because a lot of people say you see this around, especially entrepreneurial communities, but even for almost anybody who's somewhat high wealth, it's a lot of passive real estate. Buy a storage unit, buy multifamily. Do short-term vacation rental, whatever. All these kind of alternatives, alternative investments. How does investing or trading futures commodities kind of stack up to some of these other ways that these people I've seen the returns you guys get. These people struggle to get a 10% return on a building when you're out there getting an 80% return sometimes.
Well, the thing is, it's like I said, it's a skill set. I think at the end of the day, and there's just less moving parts. It's your skill set, and the screen, and the markets. Like, if you really just boil down the variables, you know what I mean? And also, when it comes to self-education, the biggest thing that I've learned is let's say you have a podcast program. You teach people how to start their own podcast, and you give them the framework to become profitable. Like, why is it that some people are able to make it work and have success and be a case study, and some people kind of fade away? Like, if you look at, let's compare and contrast. You have a stick figure, you have the program, and then you have success. You have the stick figure, you have the program, and you have failure. Okay? 3 variables. We remove the program. You have the stick figure, and you have success. You have stick figure, and you have failure. So, regardless of the program, do you work? Because if you work, the program works. Now, given the program has its legitimacy, the program is not a scam program. The program is robust. The program gives you the tools and resources to be successful, right? Like, let's just put that in there. But given that, right, that's what I would say is the difference. So to let you know, right, the other choices out there, they simply, in my opinion, just looking at it, they have way more moving variables.
Well,
Because
you're
you have
trusting somebody else.
But,
With this,
well,
you can just trust yourself to make.
well, but not just that. Like, just even the style of investing, we call this like short-term investing, but also technical analysis, right? So what did I say? I said similar to diagnosing X-rays, CT scans, and MRI scans. The main thing here is when you diagnose these charts the right way, you can print money, right? And hence the markets become your own ATM. You have to realize with stocks and like other styles of investing, it's more so called value investing, longer-term investing, and it's revolved around fundamental analysis. And fundamental analysis denotes that like you got to know, right, like what who's the CEO, or what's the company, right, like what's the trajectory, what are the quarterly earnings, and then you make an inference and conjecture on, if the stock is going to go up or down. But you don't have control. You're not the CEO, you're not on the board, you're not the one responsible for operations. Next thing, I mean, the news are the news, the media is delayed, right? So you may see a thing happen about XYZ company, but you don't know what's actually happening in real time on the back end, right? So the whole point is like your success, in my opinion, here it's just restricted to a clearly defined set of variables. But now let me just make this clear, right? Like you still got to commit to learning it. You will have your ups and downs, right? You will have losses. We're the first company to tell you that there's losses in trading. The idea, though, like I said, is to not have net losses. It's okay to have losing trades, but not losing days, right? So
Yeah, I mean that your program proves it though. There wouldn't be people still trading that you guys have educated still today if there weren't.
I mean, we have depending on who you talk to, we have longevity going back all the way from the start, 15 years. Like we have one of our best student was a couple where they made over 8 figures in trading stock options. I think about 8 million over the course of 2.5 to 3 years, something like that, right? And the husband Paul really, made it work. And the idea here is like when you create that kind of success, not for yourself, but transfer it to fellow students, they're gonna stick around. And the thing is, it also opens them up to like additional asset classes, right? Like one of the biggest benefits that I have personally gotten through learning about futures is learning about the adjacent things. You know what I mean? Like, and my investing acumen has just gone way up. Like if I didn't do this, I wouldn't even know that regardless of any asset class, first 3 things that you should know is there's an barrier to entry, there is the runway or time frame, and there's the ROI. Regardless of what asset class, you should always ask what are the criteria for these 3, right? In this specific case, barrier to entry here is $500, right, or 50 if you want to trade the micro markets. If you follow our choice of brokerage, right? The runway here is 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and the ROI can be insane, right? Like absolutely insane. I'm talking about 3 digits minimum. In stock options, people see thousands % of returns. So it's a totally different way of generating liquidity. People in real estate tend to like their physical assets. They can touch it, right? So there's pros and cons. People will never run out of a home to live in. That is an essential need, right? You can always put up the house for collateral, negotiate, because you have something of value. But it's physical, right? This is, like I said, it's that ease, it's that convenience. You can be a digital nomad doing this. You have the most time and locational freedom first, and then the financial freedom comes after your skill set's robust.
Love it.
You
Any
know,
anything else to add? Any other closing thoughts?
you will be a success at this if you love the game. Like that, it's a lot easier if you enjoy the markets, and you like the idea of making money regardless of the markets going up, down, or sideways. You have a strong propensity and skill sets in pattern recognition and analysis of charts, right? And you have a great cause, man. Like life's not just always about making money. Life's about making money and applying it so that you do great things with it.
Well said, man. I need a minute for this to upload. I think we're all good. Cool.